Okay, we are recording.
Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 78 of Cutscene Convos. We've got an absolute monster episode this week. Character profile on Conrad Carapax, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem review. Say that 3 times fast. Oppenheimer review, finally. We're going to rate summer 2023. We've got a pretty chunky Nerd News Networks before we wrap it up with our content championship, which is Netflix's Daredevil series versus Gotham. But before all that juicy stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
My week has been busier, I feel. A lot more work
You're on that
at the moment.
upswing at the minute.
Yeah, the work upswing is keeping me busy. Going to see the girlfriend more regularly also is nice. So it's like my time's definitely filled up more at the moment. I'll tell you what I have got into. There's like to keep the gaming itch going, because obviously it's hard to be busy with work and fit in Valorant or like big games.
Yeah.
I may have picked up old school RuneScape just as like a little side game while I'm like waiting for things to render.
Side game.
Well, the thing is, it's so like
Light.
non-intensive. Like it's like it runs on a potato, so it's like I can have it open while stuff's rendering, and it's not affected. So it's like while I'm sat here waiting, not able to do stuff on my computer, I'm like, oh, I can still play some old school RuneScape, chop some trees down, do a bit of mining. It's just the nostalgia. It's that I've gone back to it before, and then I get bored after like a month, and the nostalgia wears off. But other than that, been very close to getting Baldur's Gate 3, which I'm sure you will be talking about. But I mean,
it's very
everywhere.
important that I get it, because as we now cover D&D related content when it arises, I felt as someone who's never actually played D&D that this was my best way of getting myself up to speed.
Yeah, it is.
And it's all I think about. You know what I'm like when a video game grabs me? I like dream about how to be more efficient and stuff, and it's the dumbest shit ever. But like every time I start like a new Minecraft world, like imagine like schematics Minecraft style. That's what I'm doing. Like that's what my brain's doing when I'm sleeping. It's like, okay, we've got to do this, and this. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just like, okay, when we get in, we're gonna go on this quest line. We're gonna do this. We're gonna try and level up again. We're gonna try and get some more gold. We're gonna do this. That's dreadful.
But yeah, I mean, other than those things, my week's been pretty normal in that regard. But obviously, as you're saying, Baldur's Gate 3 has obviously just been your week.
No, it hasn't even. It's fucking ridiculous. Oh. So as of last Thursday, me and the girlfriend were in the situation of we're not looking at properties. We'll start looking in the new year. And then we found somewhere on Sunday that looked good.
All right.
So we went to view it on Monday, and we've got 2 more viewings lined up for this weekend for different places, as well as a meeting with a mortgage advisor. And we're trying to find a mortgage broker. And I'm just all of a sudden like,
you realise New Year's in like 4 months.
Yeah. But it's a good time right now for the kind of area we're looking to move to, because right now we've both got like at most like a 20-minute journey to work.
Yeah.
So it's always difficult because you don't want to move too far away, but the area where I live in is Benny. So even though comparatively speaking the area I'm going to is still Spenny, it's a lot cheaper, and it's still like overall our journey time would be about the same, but it would be me having the shorter journey and her having a slightly longer journey.
That sounds perfect then.
But yeah, so there's a lot like within like a 1 mile radius of flats that are coming up that all kind of could be good. So yeah, it's very real all of a sudden. It's just trying to So I mean, in the coming months there could be chaos, just pure chaos. Me just being stressed to fuck.
Love that for you.
Yeah, but it's exciting. There's just a lot to it. And then in between, it's been Baldur's Gate and nothing else.
It was so funny with Baldur's Gate because it's like you were like, oh, I don't know if it's my game. And there's like every day it was like another clip you'd seen, and you're like, okay, I'm
Mm.
closer to buying this now.
Well, you know me, I'm not a point and click RPGer.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I've always been kind of like a this isn't, but it just the graphics of it are doing just enough. From like I'm kind of forgetting about the point and clickiness of it, and now
It's
that I've
not.
got a bit of muscle memory
Oh,
for it,
mm,
I'm cruising. But it's wild because apparently the game like runs completely differently if you plug a controller in.
oh,
Like automatically all of the controls are like completely different.
didn't know
And it's like more like a traditional story game that you'd play on a console with like you move using the analog sticks and not pointing and clicking.
that.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, if I'd have known that, I'd have probably bought it a lot quicker. But
Mm.
I feel like I've opened myself up to point and click games now. But I
To,
also feel like none will ever be able to live up.
to be honest, that's I've seen that like as the weeks of this week's gone on and the player counts just kept going up. You've seen more and more people just going, "Oh, this wasn't my normal game, but I'm actually glad I picked it up and I'm loving it." Like it's really capturing like a lot of new people to that genre.
The fact that so I was watching Dr. Lupo's playthrough,
Mm.
and obviously he has more time to sit down and play the game in one go than I do.
Yep.
So by the end of his first stream of it,
Mm-hmm.
he was like 2 hours behind me in amount of time played, but he'd not even got close to like the main story bit I was on, and I'm there like, have I kind of accidentally speedrun this stuff because it still feels like I haven't scratched the surface.
Well, considering that there's 100 hours story.
If you get it, me and you absolutely need to, because when you do a campaign with someone else,
Mm.
they are always in the party, even if they go offline. So
Okay.
like you may as well just play it together because it's not even like I can just drop you,
Yeah.
get another NPC in,
Yeah.
and go off and do some side questing to level. Your character's there anyway, so you may as well just be there. So
Yeah.
I'm so down.
I am very tempted. Very tempted. But yeah, should we get into it?
We can indeed. Character profile this week is on Conrad Carapax. It is rough out here at the minute for character profiles,
Yeah,
but I'm still coming in with the heat.
you are still finding them, which is impressive considering we haven't really had any like big hitters at the moment that have been relevant.
Conrad Carapax. First appearance, Blue Beetle Volume 6, number 1 in June 1986.
I see where this is going.
Yeah, you do. Conrad Carapax was an archaeologist who was a rival of Daniel Garrett, the first Blue Beetle. He followed Garrett and Ted Cord, the second Blue Beetle, to Pago Island to find out what they were looking for when Garrett died there.
Okay.
He found Jarvis Cord's, Ted's uncle's lab. In this lab, while searching the wreckage, he found one of the indestructible robots that Jarvis Cord had created. So then when he was trying to remove the robot and see what he could get from it, it faltered and electrocuted him, killing his body, but trapping his mind in the robot's memory core. Yes. When the police arrived to investigate the island, Carapax murdered them all and tried to escape. However, after a battle with the second Blue Beetle, Ted Cord, he sunk to the bottom of the ocean and was assumed dead. He would continue to reappear and become a kind of mainstay villain of the Blue Beetles.
Okay.
And he's fought them a lot. Now, as I'm sure you've already put together, because I know you did a little Googling, you've probably seen what he looks like. A big blue beetle-y looking guy that's just big and red in the trailer is apparently Conrad Carapax.
Okay.
And in the trailer, when we're in the kind of thing where we get the Batman jokes,
yeah,
because they're like, oh, it's a bit like a bat cave, we see two Blue Beetle suits that look kind of like Daniel Garrett and Ted Kord's Blue Beetle suit.
Right.
And we also see his family gets in the bug, which was Ted Kord's, because obviously Ted Kord didn't get to use the scarab, he just used technology.
Yeah.
So it looks like Blue Beetle is really, really going to be a kind of although this is the first Blue Beetle film we're getting at all, he's still being treated as a legacy character,
Okay.
which I actually really like. It's just like I mean, there was a Blue Beetle before you, but you're the Blue Beetle now, and you're what matters.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. I think it's going to be really good.
So do I.
But yeah, I was curious about what was coming up with Blue Beetle, because while I'm a fan of Jaime Reyes, I don't know too much about Blue Beetle lore and wider stuff. So I was having a little look, and I was like, there was a weird looking red guy in that trailer. I wonder if that's anyone important, or if they've gone for the cheap. The villain is just a different color bad guy, a different color version of the good guy, which is not uncommon. Yellow
No.
jacket. But yeah, there's a bit more there. We'll see if it actually is Conrad Carapax, or if they were just inspired by his design and it's something else altogether.
I think it'd be cool if it is.
It's definitely one to keep an eye out on. And if it does turn out to be Conrad Carapax, you have to come back and like this video and comment, "These fuckers never miss." So there you go.
Ah, yes.
However, should we get into the real juicy stuff?
Oh, the good stuff of the week.
Maybe some heroes in half shells kind of stuff.
Yes, I think we should.
Yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem.
I'm struggling of what is my favorite of the summer.
Yeah,
I've really enjoyed it.
It's rough out here.
We've been spoiled. We have been spoiled this summer.
I am so glad that animation is alive and well.
Oh, can't say thank you enough to Spider-Verse, because they've opened up this like new era of animated films, and I'm all for it. All for it.
And I think next week we'll talk about Seth Rogen, because we need to discuss Seth Rogen.
The main man.
Yeah, because he's been kind of scooting under the radar, and we can't have that any longer. But let's get into this. So I think the first thing that I'd already heard about, but like was actually very noticeable, was the fact that where possible, they had the people in a scene record their lines together.
Yeah, they did group recording sessions.
The four boys were always together in a scene they were together in.
Yeah.
Which you could tell.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the bits when they're, like, all being teenagers and they're all talking at the same time, it doesn't feel like four people recorded their lines and they've been layered over each other. It felt like four brothers there bumping off of each other. Because you can tell they're, like, being slightly distracted by the other person.
Well, yeah,
that's the way you would be.
That's the thing. It's like, traditionally, had they all recorded separately, like, yeah, you can somewhat emulate that by like mixing and chopping it, but like you're not gonna get the true effect of four people like all talking at once and about like jumping in each other's gaps and stuff. Like, it came across very natural because of
100%.
Because of that.
The animation was just flawless. I love it so much.
I love that animation style. It was so cool.
It really, really worked. It wasn't as flashy as the Spider-Verse films, because it wasn't dealing with something which gives you an easy way to use different art styles.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Spider-Verse being multiversal, they can use that as an excuse to throw up different art styles at you, which makes it flashier. But it was such a nice art style. They pulled no punches with it. It was all so well put together, so colourful. But the actual voice acting is second to none. I've never been less aware of a famous person's voice, which is what 90% of the cast is,
Yeah.
behind an animation. Normally, if there's a really famous voice actor, all you can do is imagine them saying the words. But they didn't fall
Mhm.
into that trap at all, and I was really, really impressed.
Oh yeah, like all. I don't know if it's just because they had the cast locked in so early, they were able to like maybe even write the characters more into the what the actors and actresses were like. Because like one thing in particular is like they had to have got Jackie Chan locked in very early for Splinter, because just the way, whether it's the way it was written or Jackie Chan just put his spin on his lines, but like it just felt like Jackie Chan. Like the character was very much Jackie Chan, and it worked. Like we said before, like it even came out with like it's the perfect choice. It worked
Yeah.
perfectly.
It was
Uh,
the casting that no one knew they wanted, but everyone, the second they heard it, was like, "Oh yeah, no, no, good job, good job."
but at like no point did it feel like Jackie Chan. Like it didn't feel like Jackie Chan playing a Splinter. It just felt like Jackie Chan. Like
Yeah.
it's just him, and like because of that, you don't get pulled out like you say, hearing like a big name voice, and then you're like, oh wait, that's so and so. It just felt like the characters. They all their characters fit so well,
Yeah,
and I
it was
think the
really good.
four lads really did like embody each of the turtles. Like the casting was perfect in my opinion.
Either the them four actors are phenomenal, which they
Yeah,
might be anyway, or
yeah,
they worked really hard on letting them spend a lot of time together before they started recording so that they all got to know each other really well. It might
yeah.
be a bit column A, a bit column B, but
Mm,
it feels like more than just one, if that makes sense.
yeah, I think it's definitely like they are definitely very talented, and like this is gonna just elevate their careers.
Yeah.
But then also like they, because maybe they're all the same age, they're probably all into Teenage Mutant and shit. Like they all gelled so well, and obviously had the time to get to that like brotherly energy that it then just obviously paid off on screen.
Yeah. The story was solid.
Oh yeah, the story was great.
I I think I'm always going to be a sucker for like a coming of age style film, because that's what it was. They started
Yeah,
off as four kids who were taught martial arts because their dad is essentially a kook.
yeah.
Um, and all they wanted to do was find a way to be popular. And if that meant using their martial arts, that's what they were going to do. That was the premise. Yeah, it
Mm.
spiraled into a bigger thing.
Oh yeah, it was just they just wanted to be the hero so they could go to school.
Exactly.
It was as simple as
Um,
that.
and this is something that I've noticed that we are seeing, and these are the films that we're happiest with. The ones where it doesn't start off as a end of the world problem,
Mm-hmm.
but morphs into one,
Yeah,
work
it
a lot better than
scales.
just the second you know there's a problem, it is an end of the world problem. Because even though you can use your critical thinking to go, I mean, this guy probably is up to some really bad stuff. The characters
Mm-hmm.
don't know yet, and that affects how they behave.
Yes.
Um, and it's definitely a style that I think is working better. And
I'd.
even if you look back at older MCU films,
Mm,
that was when they were at their best as well. Like Age of Ultron wasn't instantly an end of the world problem.
no, it became that. Like it
I
went
mean, the
from
MCU wasn't an end of the
no.
universe problem. It built to that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think what like especially with this as well with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was like you say it wasn't an end of the world situation, and although by the end of it was like a pretty dire situation for like the city, it scaled into that. Like, and I wouldn't even say that I was expecting it to get to that level for this film. I was thinking, okay, they're dealing with bad guy, they'll end up being bad guy. Maybe there's a tease of bigger villains at play for future films because we knew a second one was coming.
uh-huh.
But like the fact that they obviously we were hooked in because it was like relatable issue for them, small town thing. But then they were able to scale it into something bigger and a bigger threat that we were like, oh shit, no, this works. This keeps us enticed.
Yeah.
And I loved the end mutant, like the visual of like that
Yeah.
mess, just a pile of mess.
One of my favorite things ever was in this film as well.
Oh.
One of my favorite action scenes when they were chasing down like the henchmen, and they had like the mirroring scenes, but with the different people, and they were like cutting between them. Phenomenal. I loved it so much. There was something about the way that, because obviously it was like a template and they were just changing the assets that were on top of it.
Yeah.
But it's flowed together so nicely, and it cut out the joke of, oh, you've got to go talk to this person and this person and this person and this person.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, we'll do that all in one go, which is a bit of a gag.
Yeah.
To cut out some unnecessary time, but we'll also give it in cool animation. And it just worked so well. And like the way you got to see each of their own, like, even though it worked as one fluid motion, you still got to see each of the guys' unique fighting style.
Yes.
So you had like Mikey just being fucking chaotic. You had Raph getting really aggressive. You had Leo being really precise, and Donnie just not like second guessing himself at all times because I've only got a stick.
Yeah. It honestly, the way they showcased them fighting and the animation and how they like, in a way, it was like, although we saw them train and we know that like they can fight, and we obviously expect that they can do martial arts. Obviously, they hadn't done that really. They haven't actually fought anyone. So the way that they told the story of them, like realizing, oh wait, this is all instinct, and we actually are fucking nuts. But they didn't realize that, and it was like all like happy accidents at first. But then by the end of the film, they were just like absolutely beating people up left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoyed how they portrayed that for like at the early stages.
But I mean, even the comedy was on point top to
Oh, the
bottom.
comedy
Like
was great.
The running joke of you're gonna get milked on the surface world, and everyone's like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How do you milk a turtle? And
Yeah.
then they get strapped in, and she's like, milk them of all
Yeah.
their blood.
When they're all strapped in, you realize, wait, they're actually Splinter was right. They are going to get milked. Wait,
Yeah.
what?
And then when he saves them, and he's like, does that say milker?
Yeah, all the little jokes. Me and the girlfriend at the end, when they were like figuring out how to fight the huge thing, like, well, you watch anime, and like surely there's something in all those comics and books that like you know something. My girlfriend's like, Attack on Titan, they're gonna use Attack on, and then he goes, Attack on Titan, the Titans. And we're like, oh shit, that's actually how it went. Like just the pure chance that it went that way.
It was so good. I really hope that they can live up to this with the second one that's rumored to be happening and the TV show. I think with this animation style, a slightly more experienced group of turtles versus Shredder could be peak.
Oh yeah, I think the second film, and obviously this one ended with that silhouette of Shredder and the name drop, which was kind of what we expected. I feel we knew it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't gonna be in this film, but and knowing there was a second already confirmed, like it was obviously gonna tease it. I think, like you say, more experienced turtles. But I think it'll be interesting because I feel like it's going to be more experienced turtles, but then Shredder's going to be too much for them, and then it's going to be like that, overcoming that. What's going to be interesting is the TV show or the TV series. At least what, one season's been confirmed.
Yeah, I believe so.
I'm interested to see if that's how they're going to use all these other mutant characters that are now just floating around. Like, are they? Is it like one episode in this first season is going to have Post Malone makes a little cameo as his little character? Because obviously they're not going to do every episode. They've got busy schedules, but like, I think there's this chance now where you're going to have the little fun episodes where like they deal with, I don't know,
Paul Rudd turning up.
Yeah, Paul Rudd's helping them with some issue or something. Like it's, or like them going through school. It's going to show like the side of like what's going on in between. I think that'll be really interesting to see how that series does.
100%. we were. I mean, we're coming into the summer. We were just about aware of this. It wasn't something we
Yeah, it kind of popped up.
100% knew was happening. And it's ended up like being one of my highlights. It's been so good. And I genuinely cannot wait for more.
Do you know what also was so good about this? Like, we've talked about the animation style and everything else. The soundtrack.
Oh,
the
yeah.
music options throughout the film, I fucking loved. Like, the amount of hip hop and New York hip hop that got used.
Do you want to know the only thing I would have liked to see? And it
Go
would
on.
have been very expensive, probably.
Go on.
If they would have done a new version of the old theme, like Heroes in a Half
Yeah.
Shell, Total Power,
I
with like an Ice Cube beat behind it and a verse to give it that. Obviously, I know he was LA in that, but give it a bit of a New York flavor and just like make it fit the soundtrack. It could have worked
I think
so well.
that's something I wish they'd done as well. And do you know what else that's reminded me of? I was really hoping by the end that throughout the whole film they kept like hinting at their name, but like messing it up or tweaking it. It's like, oh, you're like teenage martial art turtles, and it's like, come on, just say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like just. But it never at all did it get to that point. But yeah, I think if we'd had a remake of the original song, that would have been so good. You could have had
it
like
would have hit.
Have Post Malone do it.
Yeah, it just has the ability to go so viral and be such a good marketing source. But I think we'd be remiss not to demand that everyone goes out and watch it straight away, because it is one of the most fun experiences you can have in the cinema right now.
Oh, it was so good. Honestly,
so damn good.
It's made me fall in love with the Turtles all over again.
Yeah, 100%. I hope a whole new generation is falling in love with them.
I want this new era. I want it to be.
I hope a bunch of like 8 to 11-year-olds were taken out to see that by their parents, and they've all gone.
Yeah.
But like even before, which was mind-boggling, we sat there and obviously you got all the adverts for the film stars, and there was like an old school style advert for the action figures.
Yes.
Like showing off
the new ones.
I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even know they did adverts like this anymore.
Yes.
Obviously, I've just grown out of like the target audience for.
Well, yeah, we don't see
them. But I was like, I just thought they'd given up doing adverts this way. This is brilliant.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. That obviously came on, and I was like, oh my god, it's like a classic toy advert. But then, like you say, we just don't watch cartoons, so obviously we don't see those adverts. Like, they're only on between cartoons and TV. So it's like we don't see those like cheesy toy adverts anymore. And seeing it in the new versions of like the toys was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that.
Should we get on to an equally good film, but a lot more depressing of a film?
Yeah, completely different tone of film.
Yeah. Oppenheimer.
Yes, I finally got around to seeing it.
You finally got around to seeing it. Holy shit.
It definitely ended on a very somber note.
Yeah.
And it was there was a lot in that. Like, I feel like there was a lot of information. It was very info heavy at times, but it's not a bad thing. Obviously, expected for the type of film, the story it was telling. But it was very, although it's somber, like there's a very deep underlying message at the end. Like, it was very interesting to see kind of how, like, obviously I knew about, like, you hear about, like, oh, we know how the first nuke was and the US went about it. Things I didn't know about was like the whole Strauss stuff and how political it got after the fact. Like, a lot of that stuff was really interesting to see that part of the story that I obviously didn't know about.
Do you know what it is? And this is going to sound potentially a little bit weird, but stick with me.
Okay.
It's kind of like having a bit of chicken for dinner. you can cut the chicken up, you can cook it, you can eat it, you can be told it was a chicken,
Okay.
but it doesn't necessarily mean when you look at the chicken on your plate, you see a little chicken in a field with its feathers and everything as a live being.
Yeah.
Because of the steps in between, you like separate them and you forget about the living being that was involved.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
That's how I think most people who are alive now view the Manhattan Project. Yes, they understand the ramifications of the nuclear bomb and this, that, and the other, but you don't really give much thought about the people who were affected by it in Japan. You don't think about the scientists who worked on it. And it makes complete sense that it was massively political, but do you think about that? No, because it was 70 years ago, 60 years ago, in a country you don't live in.
Yeah.
So, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of shining a light and going, no, look, the big explodey thing that you're aware of and understand, this is
Dread.
the people. This is what was involved with it. This
Yeah.
is...
Oh no, yeah, I get where you're going with that. So yeah, it's like unless you've done history, you like really got into it, you don't really pay. Like we all know, oh yeah, America like raced to make the first nuke. We know they dropped it on Japan, which was bad, and now we have this issue of like everyone's threatening nukes at each other, and there's been various degrees of that over the years. But yeah, like you say, we didn't. I don't think I've ever taken the time to think about like the scientists that were genuinely just like chasing new science, the political out, like how that affected things politically for certain people, and how like the thing that I thought was just funny, and it's like to this day this is still true. Like everything comes back to politics and politicians trying to screw other people over because of like one thing that happened to them. And it's like seeing that whole Strauss stuff and how Oppenheimer was kind of like stripped of all credibility at the end. Like not to put him on a pedestal for what he did, but like it was interesting to see that I had no idea that stuff happened to him. And
I didn't know that Oppenheimer was Jewish.
I didn't I don't think I knew he was Jewish. I knew he was from like he wasn't American. So like fully American.
Yeah. So I never realized that. And once you know that, that obviously adds a whole lot of context too. Because like you can sit there and go, oh, how could you possibly even think of something so dastardly? It's like, well, the Germans were already working on it, and the person who understood it the best to lead the efforts was Jewish. Like, it
Well,
makes complete sense.
and he's like you can't even deny that like Oppenheimer was this close-minded like because like it showed like he went through Europe, met many scientists, really explored different political views and cultural views and different like as a scientific minded person they are like are interested in everyone's opinions on things. And it's like I think the bit that also you need that people need to remember is Oppenheimer was a scientist, and like also all those points of view from him being Jewish and obviously what was going on in Germany. But like when they got the thing that Germany's figured like a paper got posted and it's like they figured out how to split the atom. I thought it was really interesting how like all the scientists then were like, where most people are like, oh cool, scientific advancement. All of them literally around the room, it was like click, 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 where they all went, that means a bomb. Like they realized chain effect, do that on a bigger scale, you've got a bomb. Germany's going to try and make a bomb. We need to beat them to making a bomb.
Yeah.
And it's like, when it's put like that, it's like, okay, yeah, it makes sense why they would race to do it. I thought it was very interesting that the film did a very good job, which I think a lot of people were worried about, like it was going to glorify the dropping of the nukes and stuff. They did a very good job of making it very clear that what happened in Japan was very much a war crime. Like multiple times, they were like, Japan's close on the verge of surrendering. Japan is going to surrender. And then you got the US president go, yeah, we're going to drop it anyway. And they made it very clear that, like, this isn't us saying America was in the right here.
But I also, yeah, I like the whole criticism of just the way governments behave with like when they're trying to like work out targets. And he's like, oh no, don't nuke that place. Oh, because it's a
Kyoto.
cultural hub. No, because that's where I went on
Well,
honeymoon.
it was like, oh, we won't do Kyoto. It's considered the cultural hub of Japan. And also, me and my wife went on a lovely honeymoon there. Great
Yeah.
place. It's like, jeez, like
Yeah.
that's pure
You're making
chance.
it about your feelings towards a place and not the people.
Well,
And
it's like we could have been in a world where the president hadn't had a honeymoon there. Kyoto would have been one of the targets.
yeah,
It's like the fact that that's the reason they didn't do it, not because like all the people that would die.
it was somber. I think the Trinity test scene might be one of the most intense bits of film I've ever watched.
The build up,
Especially
yes.
like in IMAX.
Mm,
Like with how quiet they get it in there for
yeah.
then that noise to hit, which is louder than any cinema like you're normally going to experience. It genuinely feels, pardon the poor phrasing, like a bomb's gone off.
Oh,
All of a sudden, just the noise rushing in, you're like, fucking hell.
yeah. It that build up, and I don't know if you were the same. The guy that ran outside the bunker. Did you
I thought he was
think?
going to die.
I thought he was gonna get like blasted with like, but obviously they're far away. I don't know. I guess this is where like obviously I haven't paid enough attention to like how it visually looked, like the things they have from that first test explosion. In my head, when I think nuke going off, I can't help but think like video games and that where there's this huge mushroom cloud, and I was like, that was fucking intense. But a little part of me thought it was going to be bigger, but then it's like it's obviously it was the first, like that is actually how it
Yeah.
was. Like it's not the huge ones we have now.
But the crazy thing is just it's so impressive to me that they managed to do this and not underplay the nuke. Like you're not there
Yes.
like fully going, that didn't feel like a nuke.
No. Yeah.
Which is fucking difficult to do.
Yeah. I think that actually comes down to the push that he did to do it practically. That explosion, like you can't sell that any better than doing it practically and capturing it like actually there. Like you
What
can't.
I will say
Go on.
is my only criticism of that scene is Josh Peck. Not because he did anything wrong, but I see his face and I just want to make a Drake and Josh joke.
It is difficult. I would agree. Like out of any actor, it's so hard to not
with
see.
him stood over the button, like watching the thing intensely, I nudged Jenna and I went, Drake, where's the door? Because all I could think of was the treehouse scene where they put the walls up and they haven't got the door out yet. I don't know why that it like. Granted, that was like right in the beginning of it, so I was like, okay, cool, I can look in for the actual explosion now. But that was all I
know
could
what you
see.
mean. Like when he first showed up, my brain was like, "Oh, it's Josh."
Yeah. But I mean, it's craziness and like obviously an insane cast top to bottom. Everyone acts their arse off.
Yes.
When Gary Oldman manages to slip under my radar until I see his name in the end credits, you know that people have done a good fucking job.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like everyone in that film played their roles so well. But the cast was so good.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. Was it someone I work with? It might have been. No, it wasn't. It was one of our friends. Said to me, it was like, I got to the end and I saw Robert Downey Jr.'s names in the credits, and I went, "Where was Robert Downey Jr. in that?"
No.
And I was like, please tell me you now know who he was in that. And they're like, yeah, he was Strauss. I was like, yeah, one of like the main characters. She's like, I didn't even. I'm like,
okay, that's impressive. Like, and maybe that's because we've watched so much MCU.
His face is ingrained in my brain.
Yeah, but I have to say, like, because I'm pretty sure this was the first major role he's done since Iron Man. I'm pretty sure
since Endgame.
Well, yeah, since he ended as Iron Man. I know he did the film about his dad, like the documentary, but that doesn't really.
Movies, can I see them in order? So 2019 was Endgame. Doolittle, which was supposed to be a big film but flopped, came out in
Mm.
2020. Looking for a 2021 Black Widow. That was old footage, doesn't count.
Yeah.
Senior, which was the documentary,
Yeah.
came out last year. I'm not seeing anything else. So yeah, this looks like it was his first real project.
For his first, like, I wouldn't say at any point in that film I was like, oh, that's Iron Man. No, I was like, it wasn't, my brain wasn't stuck going, oh, that's Iron Man. It was like, no, this is Robert Downey Jr. playing like some politician essentially. But yeah, the whole Strauss side of the story was very interesting to learn about.
Wild.
Obviously, I'm sure some details are changed or tweaked or whatever, but like.
So my understanding is the black and white is accepted to mostly be very accurate.
Okay.
In what happened, maybe not so much the words, especially in the back room. The stuff that happened on the Senate floor will be basically verbatim because that will be official record.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be the stuff in the back room where you need to take a pinch of salt, but because it was in black, anything that's in black and white, you can take as basically the truth.
Okay.
Anything in color, you've got to accept a little bit of artistic and storytelling alteration.
Yeah.
To make it fit, because there is no official record of exactly what happened, what words were said, or anything. Because a lot of it was done in secrecy.
Yeah.
And a lot of the film is set in, especially the color bits, when we're leading up to him being selected to run the project, which obviously there won't be any record of.
Yeah.
I will say I do find it very funny, and it's something I never even knew, that the Americans were already so worried about communism, like, before the Second World War.
Oh yeah,
I didn't realize it was such a problem that early on.
They from the get-go, it seems they've never trusted Russia. I liked how they did a very good job of kind of, yes, we obviously associate communism with Russia and those like countries, but like even those like early points when it's like obviously like communist sort of way of thinking and stuff, like it's very much sold as American communism and like this just like maybe more unionism a bit, and it's like this weird, we don't instantly think, oh, this is Russian communism.
Yeah. The notion that organizing a union was viewed as communist is fucking hilarious. And do you know what the crazy thing is? Being anti any kind of organization of the workers in such a way is fascist. So the irony that they were fighting this kind of communism, which in reality we'd call more socialism now.
Yeah.
In the 40s while fighting actual fascists, just shows how, yes, we were probably the good guys, almost certainly the good guys stopping Nazi Germany, but let's not act like we ourselves were perfect in what we were doing.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I thought they did a good job of like kind of fooling us, the viewer, that like, oh, this isn't like pure communism, which actually probably was the point. Like it wasn't. It was just American government was like, oh my god, communism in any form must be the Russians.
Yeah, I mean, it was communism in the sense of it was communism, but it was starting to have people who lived their entire life in America to have their take on it, and the Western world have their take on it, which leads to socialism, but it just didn't have another name at this point.
Yeah.
So it was all just under the umbrella term of communism.
We obviously saw it in the film of like how Oppenheimer was going around like security rules at was it called Trinity? The facility?
The facility was Los Alamos.
Los Alamos. Which it kind of showed us, and they like sort of taught, like made levy to the fact that like they were going around these rules they were trying to put in place to keep secrets. Something I saw since is like someone was like, it was way worse than that. Like there was scientists breaking into offices and picking safes to get the information that they needed to do their part. Like, apparently it was like the scientists were really going against the rules and didn't care for any of the like security that was trying to be put in place, which fully shows like why shit leaked to the Russians. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, what do you expect? Scientists just want to like explore theories and like push things. They don't care for like only being told part of the information.
Yeah, this is just, it's a common trait for anything that's ever happened. When scientists are being stifled by what they view as bullshit rules,
In government.
they will not be impressed.
Yeah. And it showed some of that, and it showed the like pushback that was happening. And in times of war, like obviously the government was overlooking a lot of it because at the end of the day, they needed the results. And then it was interesting how as soon as the results were gained, oh, now you don't have security clearance anymore because of all these things you did do, even though we were okay with it while you were doing it. Classic American government to go back on something they did.
It's always, what can you do for me right now?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was absolutely fascinating. The acting was second to none. Cillian Murphy has got to win an Oscar. He's got to.
If he doesn't for that performance, then something's wrong, because that was, as like, obviously it was very, there was a lot of hype around his performance and everyone was saying like how incredible it was, but it really was.
It didn't disappoint for a single second.
It really didn't.
Um
There was like there's one thing I've seen where there's been criticism of the story, which is in the film, when they're setting up the test, they're like, oh, there's nobody for miles, like this isn't going to affect anyone, like it's all evacuated, anyone that was. There actually was farmers around and stuff, and people who are from those families whose grandparents died because of that test have spoken up and been like, you seem to have forgotten to mention that there was people in that desert area who did die from this test, but obviously the US government was just like, shush, 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 shush. I think that was the only criticism of the film, is like they've kind of overlooked, like they've made a point about all these other things that were bad that happened, like the Japan stuff and all this, and it's like, but you've just overlooked that there was people actually killed on home soil because of those tests.
Yeah, it's definitely not perfect, but I don't think it needed to be perfectly telling story-wise, because it isn't so much about this is what happened verbatim. He's not claimed that. It's more a case of, I need to shine a light on this situation, so you stop looking at the situation like chicken in a curry and start looking at it like the chicken in a poop. I'm sticking with the analysis because it holds up. It holds up, and I refuse to hear anything else. But I greatly enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. And I will say that the people that were going, oh, this is just going to glorify nukes and glorify Oppenheimer and make him into this like great man. It's like, actually, I feel like the very end message where he talks to Einstein and we find out what he finally said to Einstein, of they were worried they were going to burn up the Earth's atmosphere and destroy the Earth. And then he goes, and I think we did. But then it shows the fact that like everybody now has nukes.
See, I take that as Christopher Nolan talking to the audience.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, we don't know exactly what was said there, but it feels like Christopher Nolan trying to cut off anyone who was under any disillusionment of his point of view. It's like no, what happened was bad. Yes, it was unavoidable potentially. Still bad.
Yeah, we've started something that was unavoidable and would have happened anyway, but it's like, unfortunately, we have created probably the end of the world if it went that way. And it like that being the final message is why everyone walked out of that film with like the 1,000-yard stare, because they're like, what the fuck did we do as humans? Like, oh shit.
It was definitely a lot.
Yeah.
Me and Jenna sat there after the credits finished for maybe 5 minutes, not saying a word, just kind of sitting with what we just experienced. Because obviously we did the double header as well, so it had been a long day.
Yeah.
And we're just there like, my god. What I will say is, it's just a weird thing you always see is a lot of people are very critical of Florence Pugh's role, and they were just like, Christopher Nolan just had Florence Pugh there so that she could be a sex object, and I think they've missed the point.
Yeah, they have.
And I don't really understand. Like, maybe it didn't need to be as gratuitous, but there's this weird thing with anything that's considered high art that there has to be a sex element to it. And this is a thing that's existed since the Romans because they carved the naked woman. There's this thing where if something is already seen as kind of classy, nudity is supposed to make it seem classier. And I don't know why it is, but it just is. So, like, you absolutely could have got away with her not necessarily being naked so much, but their relationship being a sexual relationship and not being able to be anything more because of his position and
Yeah, and
who
then her
she was.
ties into thing. Like,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
exactly why it was so important. And what's the best way to make a relationship blindingly obvious so people don't miss the point, even though they still did?
yeah.
Make it
And it
physically a sexual
also,
relationship.
like, it was needed there to kind of explain this, like, complicated ties that he ended up having to communist parties, like, unknowingly. Like, he didn't intend to be, like linked with so many communist people that probably weren't fully communist, but it was to add to that complicated situation of these relationships he was having that then down the line was going to play against him.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he knew he was hanging out with people in the Communist Party. He viewed it as a man of science and knowledge. It's my duty to get every point of view.
Yeah.
That's the way the film tells it. You might sit there and believe that, yeah, he was a full-blown fucking communist, or whatever. That's actually kind of irrelevant. But the point was, the whole film was actually centered around him and how he was treated after Trinity and before Trinity and during Trinity, and what happened before was a resulted in what came after. If he'd never associated with the Communist Party before, they wouldn't have got rid of his clearance. Strauss would have had to find another way to try and ruin his clearance.
Yeah, and it was like he would have ended like the path that America went on could have been different. But it's part of his story, had to be told.
But it was a very, very, very good film.
It was.
And while I don't necessarily think it deserves to clean sweep at the Oscars, I think Barbie definitely deserves some of them awards. I foresee it doing very well at the Oscars.
Oh, for sure. It's gonna win multiple things.
Would you like to discuss the summer of 2023 with me, Mr. Zontal?
I shall. Our highly anticipated summer.
Because we've had a big summer. We've had starting off with like Guardians 3. We had Flash, we had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we had Oppenheimer, we had Barbie, Indiana Jones, Transformers, Fast and Furious, like loads of blockbuster films.
And then Fast and Furious.
And actually 2023 has had one of the biggest earning years for films at the box office in a number of years. I think it's the biggest in the last 4.
I mean, that's kind of hard. Two of those were pretty low earners.
Let me fact check that. There, 2023 box office earnings. Oh, it's just giving me individual films.
Total earnings, maybe. It wouldn't surprise me. Like
I know it's up there. It was one of the biggest in recent years, and it's like up over like the last 4 years. I think it's been up every year or something. But I thought it'd be a good idea. Granted, the summer isn't finished yet for us. We've still got Blue Beetle to come next week or the week after.
Okay, yeah, I forgot it's only a couple of weeks.
But I thought we could give a little review of the summer and discuss what our favourite film of the summer was, what our least favourite film of the summer was, what the biggest surprise of the summer was, and what we think the biggest flop of the summer was.
Okay, this is gonna be difficult.
Yeah, it is. Where would you like to start?
I think we'll go with least favorite. I feel like that's
Least
the
favorite?
easiest one to start with.
Yeah. Obviously, I can only give my least favorite to films I've seen. If I was to look at all of them as concept and go, what one would I have been least likely to ever go see? It would have been Fast and Furious.
So
But my least favorite of the ones I saw was The Flash. It wasn't good enough,
yeah,
and it made me sad because it could have been really good, and it could have made this summer unfucking believable.
yeah, it could have done.
Like, could you imagine if we'd gone Guardians, Spider Verse, a brilliant Flash film, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Barbie and Oppenheimer, and then Blue Beetle?
It would have.
We'd have been so back.
Do you see EU dropping the ball?
So yeah, I think The Flash has got to be my least favorite.
I am similar boat. If we were going with anything, it'd be Fast and Furious. That's the least I have the least interest in going to see that. The only way you're getting me back to that franchise if you do Tokyo Drift 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, but of films I've seen, I would agree. Flash has been at the bottom, and that's not necessarily like it's not a terrible film, but like with everything else that came out, just hitting so well. Like it just you can't afford to be anything but at the same level of those, otherwise like you're just gonna drop. So yeah, unfortunately, Flash with its choices and directors' visual choices.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've raved on about that enough, but
Yeah.
it's definitely the least favorite. And I'd be tempted to even say possibly the biggest flop as
So,
well.
well, I mean, it's a perfect way to move on to that. I had it as a kind of tie
Okay.
between The Flash and Indiana Jones. Because Indiana Jones made a whole big stink, made lots of noise about how it was going to be Harrison Ford's last film. Harrison
Mm.
Ford even showed emotions on the press tour because he just loves Indiana Jones so much. They were like, we have got the best de-aging technology the world has ever seen. Blah, 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 blah. Do you know a single person who has seen that film?
I was just thinking then, I don't even know, like, I don't recall anyone talking about that film. So I'm like, it obviously wasn't. If it was something amazing, people would have been talking about it. So I actually don't know anyone that's seen that film.
What was it even called? Dial of Destiny.
Yes, I think that's correct. Or
It
the
made 369 million.
I mean, compared to some of the other films we've had, that's pretty low. I just like.
Let's see.
I feel it's one of those films where I feel like everyone was just like, wait till it comes to Disney Plus.
And this is the problem with announcing the day after the film hits the cinema when it's going to be on digital release. Because everyone's like, oh, it's like going to be 3 weeks. I'll just fucking wait.
Yeah, it's. I would agree. Then I'd say that's a fair tie between that and Flash.
So
Flash.
Dial
Go
of Destiny got 69% from the critics
on.
on Rotten Tomato and 88% from the audience. So the 6 people who went to see it did enjoy it.
I mean, do you know what that feels like? Because I always feel like you should cut the middle between the two. Critics were probably like, this is a bit overly critical because it's Indiana Jones has been good for a while. Probably were like, it needs to end.
Put
Whereas
it
the
this way,
cool.
Dial of Destiny's production budget was 294 million.
Has it made money?
After the amount of money they probably spent on marketing, probably not.
Well, I guess they'll
They
make.
reckon it was about $100 million in marketing. So no, it did not make money. If that is true.
Let's hope it gets a lot of streams on Disney Plus.
But like, it just
Okay,
goes
that
to
might be the
show.
biggest flop.
I
Because at
mean, no,
least
based purely on money, I think the Flash still did worse. But the Flash's digital release is
I was
apparently
going to
doing really
say
well.
the Flash is doing well on digital, so I guess we
How
have to
much did
see
Flash
how
make at the box office in the end? I know it was really bad.
it was lower than Green Lantern. So
268,
okay, that might be the biggest
and its budget was around 200 million. So comparatively about the same.
flop. Yeah, I think it's fair to say they both were pretty big flops of the summer.
Unless Fast X was really, really bad.
Nah, Fast X will have made its money because
I assume so. Oh yeah, it made 700 million.
yeah,
Again, do you know anyone who went to see it though?
no,
Wait, was Fast X one that came out this year?
yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I
When did that even come out?
a couple months ago.
19th of May. Okay, it's right around Guardians.
Yeah, we were rinsing.
Like, I think the biggest flop has got to be Indiana Jones or The Flash.
Yeah,
I could take either. I just feel like The Flash had quite good audience scores, didn't it?
I think it was somewhat well received. It's just certain, like we've talked about a lot with Flash, like there was just certain things that hurt it, that then hurt it too much. Like we said, it could have been a good film, but
knowing how close that film was to being genuinely really, really good, I would feel bad also calling it the biggest flop as well as my least favorite. Because, like, as a percentage, I don't think it did that much worse than Indiana Jones money wise.
I would say Indiana's more of a flop.
Yeah.
At least people talked about Flash, whether it was good or bad.
Yeah. The Flash film was being discussed, and it's done okay on stream since then. So we could argue that their marketing of getting it to digital so quickly is probably what hurt them.
Possibly,
but it's wild. What was the biggest surprise for you this summer?
I just think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because it came out of it seemingly came out of nowhere.
When did we cover the first trailer for that? Just so we know how quickly this actually came around. Because I feel like it was this year.
I mean, you could probably Google the first teaser. The first teaser came out in March.
So 5 months ago.
Yes.
That is wild.
We only got the first trailer on the end of May.
Like, this film has come out of nowhere and just been phenomenal.
That's the thing. It's like, I think that's why it's my biggest surprise. Is just like, don't get me wrong, I knew it was going to be good, but I feel like coming out of nowhere and being this whole, essentially a reboot of the franchise, and you're like, oh wow, they've come out, they've nailed it off the rip in every aspect, as we've just been discussing earlier. So it's like
100%.
Wasn't expecting it and was very much surprised and happy with the result.
See, I've gone slightly different.
Okay.
Because, like you said, and I completely agree, although The Flash did catch us by surprise with not The Flash, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did catch us by surprise with, like, literally coming out of nowhere. Once I saw it, I was like, oh, that's going to be peak. Barbie, I didn't know what to expect going into it.
Fair.
I was like, that looks like fun. I didn't expect it to be so damn good. So I think that's probably gets the biggest surprise for me, because what I was going to see actually surprised me. Whereas Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the only way it could have surprised me if it would have been bad.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Whereas Barbie, I was like, okay, this could just be a really like silly like Lego movie-esque thing, which I also loved, but in fact I left there feeling like happy and contemplative and just in awe of Greta Gerwig. I think that has to be the biggest surprise for me.
I will say I was very surprised. Like when we first discussed, oh, which one's going to break 1 billion? I was like, oh, I'll be Oppenheimer. Like everyone's going to love Christopher Nolan. It's going to be like this big blockbuster story. Everyone's going to love it. Was very surprised that it actually Bobby just fucking blew the fuck up.
Just dominated.
Yeah.
Dominated. And I mean, having seen it, I can absolutely see why. I'm sure loads of people went to see it 2 and 3 times because it's fucking phenomenal. And like I said to you, and I'm not sure if we discussed it on here, going to the cinema and seeing like a mother and her teenage daughters or her adult daughters or her children daughters all dressed up in pink, having a girls' day out, getting ready to see Barbie was fucking awesome.
Well, yeah, it's what cinema's
It was
about.
like so good. It's exactly what cinema's about.
Yeah.
And I mean, the film itself does not miss, so
No.
you can't go wrong.
Now, are you ready for the hardest choice?
Favorite?
Your favorite? I say hardest, but I feel like I already know what yours is.
I've absolutely caved to recency bias, and I'm calling it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
I'm
that is
absolutely, and I'm willing to accept that it's probably me caving to recency bias, but there is also a big off-film factor that I think is helping.
Oh.
It has come out since the animators for Across the Spider-Verse weren't treated great, whereas at the minute it's looking like the animators for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie were treated very well.
I'm surprised. I fully thought you were going to stick to your guns with Spider-Man because
It was
Spider-Man.
between them two. It was definitely between.
It
them
is.
two.
Yeah, it's 100% between them two.
And recency bias, as well as it feeling like the more ethical choice, probably what makes the decision.
See, for me, I think it is also Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I think more so for me, I loved Spider-Verse. Don't get me wrong. I knew Spider-Verse was gonna slap, and I knew Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was, but it was more unknown, I guess.
You knew Spider-Verse was going to be peak 18 months ago.
Yeah.
You didn't know Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles existed until 5 months ago.
And I actually think because Spider-Verse was the second one and it was starting to go into essentially a more serious tone of the story, like what he's dealing with, whereas Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles it was just a fun film. Like it's just like everything you could want from that franchise. 100%. And it's like it being like the first and the reboot of a franchise we both loved growing up. It's just like, and it all like felt like it worked perfectly. All the new casting, the voice actors, and like the little details, and with you saying like the artists, and I very much love this art style. I think it's very creative, and the soundtrack was great. I love the soundtrack, and it's just like all those things together. It's just like I can't. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was just way more.
Do you know what I
fun
also
and
think
enjoyable.
Might hurt Across the Spider-Verse?
Oh, the delay.
No.
Oh.
It's not like a bad thing. I just think what's going to hurt it in like people's esteems. We have been eating good for Spider-Man content for about 10 years now. Like consistent Spider-Man content, which then unfortunately devalues it slightly, because even if there's a bad one, there's another one next year.
Yeah.
But also it's the second of a trilogy, which is always going to be the most forgettable, because while it did tell a story, I don't think it's unfair to say you could tell it was there to just set stuff up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you absolutely can enjoy it and it stands up, but without the context of the first one and without the closing off of the second one, no one is going to go back and rewatch Across the Spider-Verse by itself.
No.
In 4 years' time, once the entire trilogy's out.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So I think for that reason, I'm just kind of like, it's got to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. No, I would agree on that.
And like maybe in 6 months' time, once the recency bias has worn off, I will go, maybe I was wrong. But right now, I can't do that. And I mean, there is still a chance of how excited I am for Blue Beetle, that might come out.
Might get another dose of recency bias.
Yeah, I very, very possibly will come in next week. I'm like, I was wrong. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is trash. Blue Beetle for gold.
Not possible.
But yeah, it was a good summer. I'm
It
very
was a
excited
good
to wrap it
summer.
up with Blue Beetle next week.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see the future of Blue Beetle as well. We've talked about it a few times, but be interested
I'm
to
seeing
see.
more and more set photos of him in the full suit, and I'm like, my god, that suit is peak.
Does look good. Does look
It's
very
so down. It's 100% practical, and they're just
good.
touching it up with CGI, and that is always the best way to do superhero suits.
I just hope, because the Marvel had this issue where the first films of everyone was like practical suits. Then they were like, "Oh wait, we'll just switch it to CGI in later films." I hope they stick it out. If the character comes
It's
back, like
worth
it's
it.
always just practical. I mean, Deadpool's proven that. He always looks great when he's in his practical suit.
Yep. And I cannot wait for more.
Mm-hmm.
Should we get into some nerdy news?
Into the news of the week.
We do have a WGA update, but it's a slightly smaller one.
Yeah, it's like little,
Yeah.
just a few things come out.
So last Friday, this came
Yes.
to our attention. Disney has Scum. Now we've been knowing this, and it's just one of them things where it's like any company that large is Scum.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a new level of scumming I didn't even think they'd stoop to. And when you actually sit down with this news for a minute, you're going to realize how bad it actually was. So it was said on a podcast by someone who'd worked for Disney Channel that
Yeah.
the way their contracts worked, and I don't fully understand it because it's very much an industry thing, but I am aware of it, where you get paid on scale.
Yeah.
And basically, my understanding is what that means is you get paid a little bit less up front, and then if the show is successful, you end up getting paid more.
Yeah.
So what they did is for the first 3 seasons of a show, they got paid on scale at 88% of essentially minimum wage.
Yeah.
And the idea was if it got picked up for then more than 3 seasons, they would then get paid more.
Mm-hmm.
But what them fuckers over at Disney Channel then did was after 3 seasons, they would rename the show and change something to
Well, they
make
just
it
rename
a
it.
brand new show. No, they did always change something, but like nothing that actually affected it in a major way.
Yeah.
To reset that timer to go back to paying them like shit.
Yeah.
For instance, Hannah Montana into Hannah Montana Forever.
Mm.
Sweet Life of Zack and Cody to Sweet Life on Deck.
Yeah.
Live and Maddie, which I think was slightly after me. To Live and Maddie Callie style.
Yeah.
And dozens of others. And for Saturday and Sunday, all I saw on Twitter was people seeing this clip and just all of a sudden their brains clicking like, oh my God, they did it all the time.
Yeah. And it's definitely the whole on scale thing came, I'm pretty sure, from back then. Obviously, shows were sold to cable networks and different things. Obviously, Disney had the Disney Channel, but it's like if you had a show was successful, often back then a TV show that was successful would run for several seasons. Like look at Friends. So it's like obviously the on at scale thing is kind of like you think, oh well, if this is successful, we could end up with 10 seasons of this show. So it's fine if the first 3 were getting slightly underpaid because we'll make way more in the next 7. But Disney being the scum, they're just like, joke's on you. Legally,
Yeah, exactly.
this is the same show. We're going to hire you to continue. And it is a continuation of the story, but because this is slightly different and in a different location, like it's legally a whole new show. So we don't have to pay you. This is a new contract.
It's absolutely wild.
And then, do you know what though? Are we surprised at all that Disney would do this?
No, I'm not. I am, and I'm not. I'm surprised that they would do it in such a blatant and easily trackable way. But I'm also surprised that it's not been spoken about before.
Well, so that I imagine there's some level of NDA that these people have been under. Also, I guess as
Or
these
unless it's
actors
just
have
an insanely common thing.
Well, it's like if all the actors and actresses, those young ones on the different Disney shows, were all in the same boat. Like they kind of just, this is how Disney's run. As they've got older, sure, maybe realized, oh, that was shitty, but like maybe they still have some connection to Disney, so they can't speak on it. Or it's like the ones that seemingly are now are just older, realize, oh, yeah, Disney's scum. We've known this. That's why I don't do anything. Like that's why we left
Yeah.
working with them. We thought people knew this.
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I'm pretty sure as well.
Um,
Like amongst that is like they wouldn't. I'm sure there was something as well about that the check. Like there was something else they levied getting money from. I think it was like if it was reshown on Disney Channel and stuff. Like they didn't get that money either in for the first 3 seasons. There was
crazy.
a lot of money taken out of their pockets for the first 3 seasons because these.
Just structuring a deal so they get paid like
Yeah.
shit no matter what.
Yeah.
Dumbass of the week. I don't know how many times I have to say this. If you are rich and you are going to say something that's going to cost you money, you don't then get to blame woke media or cancel culture or
Or the
anything.
internet.
Because guess what? 99% of the time, no one tricked you into saying anything.
No.
You just have such an overinflated ego that you think you should be able to say whatever you want with zero consequences. Or you think everyone's just going to blindly agree with you because you're in such a little bubble.
Yeah, you think your fans are super loyal or something and would obviously share your same views, which is
And Zachary Levy's gotten some hot water before for different dumbass things, which for the most part I've always gone, that might just be a bit of ignorance to not fully understanding the problem. Maybe it's
or miscommunication on social media sort of thing.
A bit of just harmless ignorance. He was at a Comic-Con event, which he was allowed to be at because of the way it was structured, and he was on stage complaining about how he couldn't talk about any work he'd done. So
yes.
he's like, I can't talk about a show where I used to be an IT repair guy, referencing Chuck and stuff. So and it's dumb and it's bullshit and I hate it. Now, again, he's come out, he's tried to cover his ass. He's like, yeah, no, I get why we're striking. I get all that. It's just a bit frustrating because I wanted to be able to enjoy this with my fans. Cool, whatever. Guess what? If you feel so strongly about them things that you're going out there and saying that and then having to apologize, either you're not thinking well enough before you speak, which is something you should work on anyway.
Yeah, get some proper PR training.
Or you really thought you were going to get away with it.
Probably both. Not there thinking, and also doesn't.
There is no way someone whose entire job is in the public eye doesn't understand how that could come across badly.
Do you know what? I think a lot of these celebrities are of the mindset that their fans have the same views as that. Like, I don't know what it is about. Obviously, we're finding out who the kind of dumbass celebrities and dickhead celebrities are through this stuff, but it's like it's wild seeing that they clearly think, like, they clearly don't understand how the general public are perceiving this stuff. And he probably was playing that off thinking like, oh yeah, you guys are probably like annoyed too that you've come to see me and I can't like share anything. And it's like, well, no, we all actually want people to get paid properly because we want shows.
It's craziness.
Yeah.
Once again, Disney just not reading a room. Disney and Hulu. Why do I always add the extra Lulu? Hulu have announced price increases
for the US at the moment.
For
the moment.
And apparently they're going to start cracking down on password sharing in 2024.
Yeah, they've got some new techniques or something they're going to be putting into play. Do you know what's funny? I'm pretty sure a few weeks back when we were talking about the WGA stuff, they were like, we can see it now. We're just going to like, Disney's complaining this is going to cost them so much money, like they're not just going to offset this cost onto us. Oh, look at this. Interesting. They're raising prices almost like they're preparing to have to pay actors and writers more. and they're just shifting that cost to us. And do you know what? It's not gonna work very well. I mean,
Are you ready?
go
Are
on.
you ready? Disney Plus generated 7.4 billion in revenue in 2022. They're putting a $3 price increase on a monthly subscription. Right, I know some people pay yearly, but if we just take that as about a 30% price increase, 30% of 7.4 billion, 10% would be 740. That's another 2.1 billion that they're going to make in revenue. There's costs, not that much. And it's going to cost them about an extra $30 to $50 million to meet the demands of the. They're still profiting in this situation.
Oh yeah.
I'm sick of it. The nerve to say that people need to lower their expectations as a CEO when you're earning 30 million.
Do you know what's also wild? These price hikes are coming out, like increases are coming in. So people are like, okay, we're going to be paying more for Disney Plus. Does this mean we're going to get more shows, better shows? No, they're reducing how many
the output
Marvel stuff and how much Star Wars stuff they're making. So actually, and they're taking shows off of Disney Plus. They're already on there. So actually, we're paying more for less content going
forward. The amount
forward.
of lost media that Disney have created because they've ripped it away from everywhere else, put it on Disney Plus. It's not done well enough on Disney Plus, so they've ripped it away from Disney Plus, and now you've got like entire fandoms that just have no access to their content anymore.
It's fun. I saw a great thing which was like someone's skit response to this, and it was like Disney was like, "Oh, but you guys liked us when like we first came out," and they're like, "Yeah, because cable was rubbish." It's like, yeah, but like there's ad-free options or there's like cheaper options with ads. He's like, so cable. So you're just becoming cable, but I don't need you. I have all these other options. And it's like, it's the point. It's like, we loved streaming services because it was way more convenient to watch the content and shows we wanted to watch. And the price was at a decent point. And we were like, okay, that's good value for money. The price and the convenience, like price is going up, convenience is going away because they're forcing like ad option tiers onto us. And it's like, or you have to pay ridiculous price to get ad free. It's like, well, what's the fucking point in this anymore? Like we don't like this, and your content's not good enough to like. People are gonna start. It's back to that thing of like some houses had Sky, some just had Freeview, some had Virgin Media or whatever, and it's
100%.
like people are just gonna cut down on what streaming services they have.
With the password sharing thing, are you ready for the crazy thing? Are you ready for what's gonna make you laugh? So there are 6 of us that share the Disney Plus account that I use. We all pay for it. We pay for it yearly. We split it 6 ways, which means it works out incredibly reasonably. Even with this price increase, it will still be incredibly reasonable. I'd have no issue paying.
Yeah.
If they're going to crack down on password sharing, why am I allowed to create an individual account for every single person?
Yeah, like why
if
have
they make
these
it so
account
that
options?
like if they make it so that all of a sudden only like 4 of us can access it, why was I allowed to create 6? That should be something that legally you should not, on one paid for account, be able to create more accounts than people who are going to be allowed to have access to it when you crack down on password sharing. Because it's not like we're trying to hide. It's not like we're on one account and we're all trying to hide. Everyone's got their own profile picture, their own name attached to it. We're not hiding. I'm baffled.
The only crackdown that I think I would be okay with is like if it's region locked. So like I can't share my password with someone outside the UK. Because I have someone on mine that's from the US because they were like they wanted to watch the Kenobi series one time. But it's like I get if they're like, okay, we want you to stop like
But here's the problem. What if someone's traveling?
It causes issues. Do you know what I think this has come from? I think originally they weren't that fussed. Like the Disney, like as we've said, that you can make as many accounts. Like Disney was okay with like we're making plenty of money. They saw Netflix do their thing, and they're like, Netflix put out like, we've had the biggest increase in accounts. Not then probably reporting that a month later all those accounts closed because people were like, what's the fucking point in this? Because I guarantee what happened on Netflix's side is all those new accounts got made after the password thing happened because people wanted to finish the shows that they were in the middle of. They finish their shows and they'll cancel their accounts. Disney thinks, oh, we can make even more money, raise prices, gonna get a fuck ton more accounts made, and then not realizing that actually you're probably in the long run going to be worse off.
100%. I don't know how they can be so brain dead.
Yes. We need that we need the internet to just mass leave. Like no matter how good some of the shows are, just be like, nah, I'm out.
Collectively, as the internet, we all put 1 penny in a jar so that one person has an account. They download it all and illegally share it everywhere.
Yeah, let's get Pirate Bay up and running again.
Just put all of our resources into just making this unbring downable monster that has everything on there.
Yeah. It's
But forget the writer strike and the actor strike. Let's have a consumer strike. Because I'm so, and the problem is I don't know how to even combat it. Yeah, obviously we can go, well, if everyone just stops doing it, here's the problem. When you're paying attention to this stuff, it feels like everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
But then you get out into the broader world, most people aren't.
No, and then people only realize the price has gone up when they check their bill and like, oh wait, Disney Plus has gone up this month.
What I will say is $3 in one go is fucking steep. When it's $11 a month and now it's going up to $14 a month.
I feel like they're trying to match. Isn't Netflix something similar?
I don't know what Netflix prices are in dollars.
I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're just trying to, or like.
But the thing, what I will always say about Netflix, despite other criticisms I have of them, is for a one screen at a time account, it was always very reasonably priced. I don't know what it's like now, but it always has been, I think, quite reasonably priced. It might not be as good value now that they've lost some of the stuff that wasn't their IP.
They've also tweaked some of their tiers in America, which is a bit.
But I think the screen rule is the perfect way to do it. You pay for X amount of screens being able to watch at the same time. And if someone wants to be a real cheapskate and pay $9 a month for one screen at a time, and they want to give it to 100 of their friends, but only one of them can watch it at a time, why do you give a fuck?
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they're still only getting one view. It's not like they've got four views happening on one account. Like it's one view at a time. Like
I think they would see a lot more success if they brought their pricing down significantly, but you made it so that you pay for accounts and screens. So make it 50 cents a month for every account you want to have, and then $1 a month or $2 a month for every screen that can watch it at the same time. Because a lot of people at them prices, or maybe even $1 and $2, a lot of people will go, I will pay the extra $1 a month so that my sister, who's watching the same show as me, doesn't fuck up my viewing order.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like you would even like having the difference between 2 screens at a time to 4 screens. Oh well, I think there should be 1 screen, 2 screen, then like 4 screens. And it's like the amount of people that would go straight to 2 screen option because they're like, oh well, I share it with, well, me and my partner both want to watch it at the same time, one on the phone or one on the TV, like, or my family members need it, or there's like a whole family just pay for the 4 screen one, and it's like, cool, we'll pay the extra. I think the screen option, like amount of watchable screens, is the better way to do it than trying to do password sharing. Yeah.
Good news though.
Good news.
Workers of the world unite. VFX workers at Disney are rumored to be unionizing.
at some of the main MCU VFX studios as well as part of
Fuck
that.
yeah. This is what we've been saying for months.
We said,
And the biggest problem is still going to be when they outsource it, because you've got different companies competing.
yeah,
Unions would, but you need all VFX workers to be under the same union no matter what company they work at, because then if all VFX workers are protected the same, the studios are all going to be on an even footing when bidding for the contracts.
yeah. We said it when the actors got involved that we just needed like the production guilds, or like, because there seemingly are some, but obviously to get all production VFX studios and production studios all under one umbrella, it's difficult. But it's good. The fact it's starting, I actually think will be a ripple effect, because what you'll see is, although there's them studios that are like, oh, we'll undercut a price or whatever to get a Marvel project, they'll be like, wait, if we're in the union, we're guaranteed this. Then like they'll be like, well, we're at least on the same base level of everyone.
We need this initial unionizing to be a massive success. So that then others are like, yes, okay, cool. Because there will be a lot of people now who are interested but are scared.
Yeah. I think it just needs to be, obviously, the more in it, the better, because it stops Disney just going, well, we'll screw you, we're not using you. Also, it's not even like unionization. We just need, and this is the case just in all creative aspects, but like artists just need to stop undercutting other artists.
Yeah.
Like, you're just screwing everyone when you do that, and we just need these VFX studios to like stick to their guns more and be like, nah, we ain't doing that. Or like just collectively all be like, yeah, we ain't working for you, Marvel, unless you are paying like this minimum.
Yeah. It's hopefully it's a step in the right direction that leads to people getting paid fairly.
Yes.
Bob Iger. Scum.
But he's acting so nice now.
Yeah. Has come out and he's publicly told the actors and writers that they were not being realistic with. Oh no, sorry. After he came out and told them they were not being realistic,
saying they were going to wait till their homes foreclose.
Yeah, he now claims he's personally committed and with fervent hope to quickly find solutions to the issues that have kept us apart these past few months. Now, man's talking like he's ever worked with any of these people.
Do you know what that is? That is a whole PR thing just to save face because of the bad press he got for what he said a few months back. That comment about, oh, we'll wait till the homes foreclose, and that has like got latched onto as like all the CEOs are like that, and like he's been used as this. The Disney execs, let's be honest, at the end of the day, Disney board are just like, we want money. And as soon as like Bob Iger's like causing bad press that could cost them money, they're gonna be like, what the fuck is this going on? Like, you need to fix this. And this just feels like a PR fix of being like, no, we need to make sure the message is clear that you're trying to solve the issue, and Disney is very much. And he's like, okay, and he's gone out and said that. It's just, it feels so like empty of a statement.
It's just literally just happened, where VFX workers have explained a little bit more why they're looking to unionize. So they are currently getting paid on a weekly flat rate. This means they don't get paid extra for overtime, hours, days, and have no protection against tight turnarounds. So these motherfuckers are getting paid, for instance, $100 a week, and that does not matter whether that's an 8-hour day or an 18-hour day, and if they have to work over the weekend, they have to work over the weekend, and they won't get paid more.
What I imagine is there's some agreed weekly rate, which is probably not a bad week. Like, it probably is a weekly rate that everyone's happy with. But then what happens?
Just for their 37.5, they'd probably be like, that's fair.
But then it's like, what will happen is Marvel will go, oh no, the deadline for this is here, and if you don't deliver on time, in the contract there's probably something that's like you waiver all fees. Like
Yeah.
if you're late, you lose out on your money. So then they have to work overtime to hit the deadlines, but they don't get paid for that.
Yeah. So I'm sure the wage is adequate for a 37.5 hour traditional work week, but when probably every single work week ends up being 80 hours, it becomes less than
Especially
equitable.
when studios turn around and go, "Oh, we've done reshoots and we need that VFX shot completely redoing." You've got like a month to do it. It's just going to be like, but
Yeah.
you've already signed the contract that you will get this work done. So yeah,
It's I hope they absolutely bend Disney over and take them to the cleaners. Or
E-
Marvel, who then in turn hurt Disney.
I hope they get, even if it's as basic as they get things in place that for overtime, and if things have like a rescheduling. So if there's like Marvel turns around and goes, "Oh, we need that shot this week now," or then they need those protections in place.
Yeah. And if this means we get less MCU or just
I'm
superhero
fine
content
with
in
it,
general,
but it
it's
looks better.
fine. Yes, I adore superhero content. I adore it with my whole heart. Guess what? I will happily have less of it and just suck it up and get over it if it means that the people making it get treated like fucking human beings. And
Agreed.
I really hope that isn't something that anyone's surprised to hear.
I think we can all agree on that.
I fucking hope so. Um, Talking of just loads of CGI for no apparent reason, I Am Groot season 2 apparently coming on September 6th. Is it needed? No.
I wasn't expecting it. Like the first one
See,
kind of made sense because we were like,
it was a marketing tool.
yeah, it
It
was,
came out before the Christmas special,
yeah,
which was then going to lead into Guardians 3. It made sense.
and it was like filling this fun little gap of like we get to see how Groot's grown up.
Yeah.
We've kind of then gone back to like we know
But
this isn't Groot anymore. So you're just showing this literally screams we had however many, like say 6 episodes of like their standard Marvel. Like we had 6 other story ideas that we didn't use in the first season. Like sure, it was a success. People like Baby Groot. It's good marketing. They know people like Baby Groot because it's cute, so they know people will watch it. But it's
yeah,
like it adds nothing. Like, is it needed? Would that
it's.
studio time have been better spent on Ant-Man?
Do you know what it is? It seems like you don't need any actors for this.
I bet Vin Diesel doesn't voice this.
I mean, they'll probably just reuse the voice they've already got recorded for him, or they've got an AI voice.
Yeah.
Um, and they could just get the people who are overworked and underpaid VFX artists to just churn it out. This is probably episodes that were made for season 1 that never got used, that
They
they've
probably
spent
got.
the last 3 months during the strikes touching up so they had something to throw out there because they knew they were going to delay loads of stuff.
Do you know? Yeah.
Because
Do you
this
know?
has come out of nowhere with less than a month until it comes out.
This will be. I bet you these are all episodes that were storyboarded, and in animation, when stuff's storyboarded, it's like blocked out and it's basic animation, like real basic animated stuff. It'll have all been blocked out and they're gone, oh, we want those stories for season 1, and those have just got vaulted. And then when all the strikes have started, or like they probably were like, oh, we could put them out at some point. Let's get a studio working on them. Strikes have happened. They've probably gone to the studio. We need them now, because we need stuff to put out. I
I
don't.
would not be surprised to find out that the work for this was the straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to the VFX workers unionizing. Because all of a sudden, this thing that they did as part of like, we're going to make 12 of these 3-minute shorts, and then we're going to take the best 6 at like halfway through. We'll work out what the best 6 are, finish them off, and then it'll be done. And they've gone back to the other ones, and they've gone, you have to finish them off. We're announcing it, and it
Yeah,
needs to be done by the 6th of September.
it wouldn't surprise me if they've turned around and gone, oh yeah, we want these done now.
Uh huh.
And it's like the studio's gone, are you paying us more to like? No. Oh, okay. Cool. We'll see you down the road in court.
Exactly. So this is a message I sent you
Yes.
that I
Wild.
wasn't sure if you knew any of, so I needed to like catch you up first. So there is a very infamous Spider-Man comic that has been referenced a lot, I feel like, in pop culture. But people never really seem to know if it's true or if it's just a meme. So in I want to say 2006. Let me just double check that.
That long ago.
Rain. Yeah. December 2006 through to Marvel 2007
Mm-hmm.
was a Spider-Man series called
Right.
Rain. Not spelt like the weather rain. Rain as in like a reign of terror.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know a lot about the actual story,
Mm-hmm.
but one of the most frequently spoken about parts of it is as part of the story, it becomes apparent that Spider Man's reproductive systems
Smooth.
are radioactive. And as a result of fun time with Mary Jane, she develops cancer.
So weird.
Yeah.
What young intern wrote this story?
Put it this way. I've just Google searched
Oh no.
Spider-Man cancer spunk.
Why would you even
The top link is the Wikipedia page for Spider-Man Rain.
Okay, at least it's a Wikipedia page, I guess.
So yeah, someone in their infinite wisdom has decided to make a sequel.
Do you know what this feels like? I joke that like some young intern comes up with a story, some horny writer, just having fun. Some young comic book fan read that comic, thought it was fucking hilarious, loved the story, thought it was just like we're memeing the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Has got an intern or job at Marvel and gone, I know what I want to do for my first story. You know that comic that you guys hate hearing about because you regret it? I want to make a second one. I feel like it's some youngster, this like young writer. They read the first comic and they're now finally working at Marvel and they're like, I can finally make the sequel. I can continue this story.
So I'm just having a little look here. And it looks like the actual story of Rain
Okay.
is it's
More
30 years in
serious.
the future.
Right.
New York is now safe, but it's under authoritarian military police style stuff called the Rain.
Okay.
Peter Parker's a fair bit older.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's glowing
he
green.
essentially he has to essentially come out of retirement
Right.
when the Sinister Six starts.
Right.
Let me just have a little look here. At Peter's apartment, J. Jonah Jameson delivers packages. Years of abuse, told to David Bugle he wasn't realized. Jameson leaves and starts a riot, which leads to a fight against two Rain officers. Meanwhile, Parker opens the package, revealing a camera and his old black suit mask. He defeats the officers wearing only the mask and his underwear, imagining himself in his prime. After Jameson asks if Spider-Man's back, Peter punches him and walks away silently. So by looks of it, Peter's also a massive dick in this.
Well, I think you would be if your balls were glowing green.
It seems like
It seems a weird.
they tried to make a really dark Spider-Man story, a la a kind of like The Dark Knight Returns,
But then just
but
sprinkled a bit of.
it's been overshadowed by a very weird decision.
Yeah. I don't think we need a second one.
So the second one probably has nothing to do with Cancerous Spunk. But when they announced they're doing Rain 2, the only thing anyone was talking about is why are they making a sequel to the Cancer Spunk story?
I needed an audio clip of you just saying that.
Cancer Spunk. There you go, you got a good one.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting choice to pull that one out of the vault and continue.
It was a choice that was made.
Maybe they thought, it's been long enough. People will have forgotten.
The internet never forgets.
Exactly. Why do I feel like they've announced it and then they've gone, shit, they've not forgot. Let's just not talk about that now, and maybe they'll forget again and not ask us where the sequel is.
The thing is, I'm pretty sure it's been called The Rain 2 as well. They may as well have called it The Rain and see if they, like the old school, like the joke
just
of the
restart.
Internet, like, oh, Disney actually have a rule about the way people have to behave at Disneyland. It's called Rule 34. If you Google Disney Rule 34, you'll find it. They should have just released Rain and hoped that it did well enough that when people Googled Spider-Man Rain, that would become the top search.
Yeah.
But no.
Not happening.
Adam Devine, face man person,
nice.
was one of the guys in Pitch Perfect.
He was.
And was in a couple of seasons of Modern Family. And I want to say Workaholics, he was one of the main characters in.
Possibly. I don't know about that.
Let me just double check that. I'd never watched it, but I feel like I've seen a lot of clips from it. Yeah, he was. He was the main guy in it. Was on a podcast. And basically what he said was Marvel ruined comedies.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of all that was really said. He's like, Marvel came in and now studios don't make comedies anymore. They ruined comedies. And it kind of got taken out of context with the way the podcast was cut together and then the way the clip was taken out.
Yeah, and then the article fully just took it out of context.
So he had to rectify it, and it's one of the few times I think a celebrity's actually rectified something they've said, and I fully go, yeah, they've just taken him out of context completely. Yeah. So what he said was, I like Marvel films. I greatly enjoy them. My point was, because of the success of them, to make the money to make films like that, they stopped making mid-budget comedy films, and I miss them.
Yeah.
Which is a completely valid take.
Yeah. Everyone's trying to make a blockbuster now.
Yeah, exactly. No one wants to do the Ace Ventura Pet Detective
now.
No. Which, I mean, is a problem. And it's completely... And I think it's just the way everything works. But he's been very funny on Twitter since it happened. So this is the tweet. Where he rectified the really bad article, because the Variety article was really bad.
Yeah, it was.
As a guy who loves movies and TV, it's cool to be in Variety, but this is misleading. I like Marvel and think that the movies are cool. I was saying that studios, in trying to compete with Marvel, have stopped making mid-budget comedies. I miss seeing comedy in the theaters.
Yeah. Valid point.
I think in the clip you can kind of get where he's coming from with that, although that wasn't cut together very well. Yeah. And then once you've got a written article that just takes the snippet they want in written text and then builds this whole article around it, it looks a lot worse. But he's had a lot of fun since then.
Nice.
First flight was late and missed my connection. It's Death at American Air's fault, but I feel like it's probably also Marvel's fault.
Oh, I love this.
Somehow my American airline flight is delayed again this morning. Marvel!
Oh.
And then someone responded to one of his tweets. I feel you, Adam. It happened to most of us who were flying on August 8th. I decided to rebook my flights, but it kept delaying, and after 2 days stuck in Tampa airport in LAX, I was able to fly back to my hometown, the Philippines. And then he's just quote retweet that and gone, do we think it's Marvel's fault? I mean, Adam Devine is, I think, a very good comedy actor.
Yeah, I would agree.
I've seen him in a couple of things. I've not seen loads of his work, but all the stuff I've seen him in, he does a good job. I feel like there's not many out-and-out comedy actors anymore. I feel like the best comedy actors we see now are actors who just then get given a comedy role and happen to do very well.
Yeah, they're good at kind of a bit of everything, sort of thing.
But yeah, it's wild how quickly stuff can spiral, and him going from I miss comedy so much, and it's because Marvel are doing such a good job, to just an article like Adam Devine says Marvel are scum and they should all burn in a fire.
It's the classic, and with it being variety, it's not really. It's not a surprise, is it?
It's crazy because they sometimes give us like news that's worth keeping hold of, but then they do like think pieces and they go to shit. Just report actual facts. Like so and so has been delayed, so and so has been cast. They're good at that. They're semi-reliable at that for something as influx as production and casting. Then it gets to think pieces and it just all goes to shit.
Well, yeah, you get to the intern that needs to hit so many stories a month, and they're like, "Oh shit, I need to pull a story out of something." Yeah, glad he's had some fun with it though.
Yeah. Would you like to debate what shows are better than what shows?
Of course, always.
A little content championship team.
Little content championship team.
Yeah, we've got to make it clear that I'm from the south and you're from the north. Or in north.
No, little content championship.
This week we've got Netflix's Daredevil TV show versus the CW's Gotham.
Finally an easy one.
Yeah, no, I mean it. Have you even seen all of Gotham? You haven't.
No, not all of it.
Okay, cool.
That happened with all the CW shows.
Yeah. As always, the 6 topics are personal relevance, how well it has aged, rewatchability, story, acting, and cinematography.
Yes.
So you chose Netflix's Daredevil. And as we've noticed with some of the headaches we've had over previous weeks, I've done a pretty good job, you could say, of finding equal weight opponents.
Yeah.
That like are comparable. When it got to this one, I realized there's not a lot that you can compare to Netflix Daredevil because it is so unique, and it was the first that was its brand of unique without just giving another Netflix show, and it is the best of the Netflix shows.
Yeah, the only one you could maybe
this is
pit it against would be Punisher, but
yeah. And so although this is probably pretty cut and dry, there are definitely some things to discuss.
Yeah.
So I will get us started.
Okay.
With the personal relevance. Although Ben Affleck's film was first and did okay for the time, this film brought Daredevil to the mainstream.
Yes, it did.
Because people who went to see the Ben Affleck Daredevil film
were
men who read a comic when they were a kid and kids who wanted to see a superhero film.
Yeah.
Daredevil on Netflix opened the superhero and comic book media world up to a wider audience.
Yes.
For better or worse, it did. Granted, you now have some people on the internet who think Daredevil is Batman in the way they behave and he can't have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Just side note, Batman also has a sense of humor. But it got Daredevil the respect and love he deserves, which is why it's so important to me. Whereas with Gotham, it was nice to see the city of Gotham as this kind of desolate hellhole that we've always been told it was before Batman arrived. Because obviously Gotham is set when, like, the beginning of it is the night of the Wayne's murder.
Yes.
And it actually follows a young Jim Gordon.
Yes.
The show is not perfect at all. There is a very weird charm to it, though.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it has some of the best character design of, like, outfits we have ever seen when it comes to Batman's Rogue Gallery. Because they did not shy away from being camp.
Yeah.
And it really worked well.
I think I'm similar. For me, like the personal relevance, like you say, Netflix is Daredevil kind of opened up a new side of superhero content. They're like, yeah, we had some of the Marvel films, and it's like, but they were very, it's the MCU. Netflix Daredevil was like, huh, hi adults that are paying for Netflix and watching our shows. Uh, Here's a more adult themed show that, oh yeah, by the way, it is a superhero show. Um, it's very binge worthy, and it was at the like in peak times of Netflix, I would say, of where every show they were putting out was a banger. Everyone was talking about it. It like opened. It did, like you say, brought in a huge cultural wave, like a new wave of Marvel fans. Um, like you said, better or worse. Gotham was, as I was falling off enjoyment of CW, I would say.
Yes.
I same sense of like you of I enjoyed getting to see Gotham in a darker place and getting to see like a young Bruce and a young Jim Gordon. Um and I thought it was an interesting direction, a new take. And like you say, with the costumes look great. I really liked how they lent into, like you say, the campness and the more comic book esque feel, like more out there. But it was, like I said, as I was falling off the CW stuff, so I didn't really stick with it much. Whereas
So
like the
what I just realised,
go on,
the first season of Gotham
hmm,
came out a year before Daredevil.
oh, I have that the
I
other way around in my
think
head.
I think that is a clear line in the sand of when the expectation of superhero TV changed. I think Gotham
Yeah,
is very much old style.
yeah,
Then Daredevil came in and changed the game away from this villain of the week bullshit.
mm-hmm,
And that's why I think Gotham gets a little bit more flack than it deserves. Because it was at the same time as Daredevil,
yeah,
everyone was like, well, Daredevil.
Netflix style.
Yeah. Um, Whereas
No,
this was the traditional villain of the week. And I think when you hold it up as against the other villain of the week shows, I think it's good. But then when
yeah,
you look at what we've got now with the this is the story for the season,
hmm.
and as long as we don't cram the ending into half an episode, it's going to be great. Um,
Which
yeah,
Netflix was very good at not doing that.
yes, they were. That is one thing that I wish they taught Disney.
But yeah, so
So
I would,
that's interesting. That might
yeah,
literally be a very easy way of seeing when stuff changed.
yeah, I would agree. I didn't realize that. But yeah, I lean to
How?
like Netflix's
Go on.
Daredevil is definitely more personal to me.
Yeah, 100%. How well is it aged? Lay some facts on me. Give me your hot takes.
I would say Netflix Daredevil has aged very well, considering how big of a, for better or worse, cult following that show has. Everyone still to this day talks about the Netflix Daredevil. They wanted Netflix Daredevil out of everything to make it to the MCU. And then when they announced their show, everyone's like, "Oh, I hope it's like the Netflix Daredevil." Like everyone holds that show to such a high regard that I would say aged extremely well compared to its other selection of shows in that category of Netflix Marvel. That some of which did not age very well. Um, I think it did. It didn't miss when it came out, and it's still to this day. I would probably happily like still doesn't miss. Gotham, I think it's still the same feeling I had for it when it came out. I was like, yeah, it's interesting, it's cool. I'm like, I don't think it's aged any better. Maybe a little bit compared to some of the other CW shows, but I'm still like, CW feels like it's not aged that well. in my opinion.
I think Netflix's Daredevil is the gold standard of superhero TV.
Yeah.
And I think it is only in continuing to age well as we get more and more of the MCU Disney Plus shows, which just aren't quite up to scratch, and it just shows how high Daredevil set the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Gotham has aged okay at best, but when I think about the show, I don't think about the show in its whole. I think about the really good moments of the show. And I don't think there is enough of them to say it aged well. Like,
Yeah.
it's an okay show. I went and finished it after it had finished because I was like, I want to see how this all wraps up.
Mm,
But I wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and go, everyone should watch Gotham,
yeah.
but everyone should watch Daredevil.
Yes. I would. Yeah.
Re-
Agree with
Rewatchability.
that. I have no interest in rewatching Gotham. I'm happy to see the odd clips to remind me of the different characters, and I'm like, yeah, they were good castings. Daredevil, it'd be a binge, but I would happily sit down and probably rewatch it. Especially like if we got more like with the upcoming Daredevil show, if there's some more explanation as to like stuff that maybe is continuity.
Yeah.
Like it's like, yeah, I'd go rewatch it then to give myself a refresher of everything that happened. I think Daredevil is definitely a lot more rewatchable than Gotham.
Yeah, I agree.
Personally.
I think Daredevil's insanely rewatchable. Gotham, you only need to watch it once.
Fair.
But I am under the impression, and maybe some people in the comments can confirm this or not for me,
Oh.
that Gotham does have a bit of a cult following.
That wouldn't surprise me.
I think the uniqueness of the way they've told the stories and the characters being so camp in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Supervillains from comic books should absolutely be camp as fuck. I think they've done that so well that it does have a bit of a cult following. But I get the impression it's more they watch specific like 3 or 4 episode arcs instead of binging all 100 episodes.
Yeah.
Story time.
Interesting.
Daredevil doesn't miss.
Oh yeah, the Daredevil story was it was so well done, so well put together across all the
Absolute
seasons.
peak fiction.
They honestly, I think that's the issue Netflix had, right? We've talked about how well it's regarded, and the story was so good across all the like tides up across all the seasons. They did such a great job with that. They set the bar too high for any of the other Marvel shows they tried to put out. Like the story was so strong with Daredevil, everyone compared anything else they put out to that, and it just didn't meet it. And it's like, I think that speaks volume. Gotham, I mean, I never finished it. It was a CW style of show. You can imagine what the story was like.
It ranges from great episodes to the middest of mid episodes. And it is like a roller coaster with these peaks and troughs. And you can tell that it's to stretch to this like 20 episode a season rule.
Yeah, that they had.
If you cut out all of the shit, you would probably end up with a 6 to 10 episodes a series like the Netflix's Daredevil had that would have been very captivating.
Yeah.
And it's just the way cable TV works. But there are some absolutely phenomenal stories in Gotham. And I think it would be remiss to act like there isn't.
Yeah.
Acting.
I mean,
I've got a word that I've written down for
well,
Daredevil.
okay.
And I think it is the only word to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal. Top to bottom, everyone does such a good job.
Yeah. Everyone nails their part across the board.
Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin is
Perfect.
like sent from God. Charlie Cox's Daredevil is so good. He was so in tune with that role, he lost out on other jobs because he was struggling to refocus his eyes on who he was talking to because he was trying so hard to do a good job of acting blind.
Yeah, he was so used to acting blind.
And all of the side characters, phenomenal. When we get the actor who played Frank Castle.
Oh, John
Bernthal.
Yes.
When he comes in season 2, phenomenal.
Yep.
Just every casting decision and the acting was all top tier.
Yes, it was. Gotham.
It's okay.
They had good castings.
The style of TV show really limits the quality of the acting. What I will say is Cameron Montague, who's a favourite of mine, plays Cal Kestis.
Yes.
As not the Joker, but the Joker.
Yeah.
Is phenomenal. He is truly great every time he turns up as both Jerome and the other guy. He basically plays twins.
Yeah.
They both end up being the Joker, but like different versions of the Joker. One's like psycho face falling off Joker.
Yeah.
One's like clown prince of crime Joker. I love the way they told that story. It was unique. And as both of the both such a wide range, he plays them both phenomenally. But for the most part, it's okay. It's like it's cable TV superhero show.
Strong castings, and then but it's like, as you say, like TV, it's limited.
It when you're doing Netflix's Daredevil, it seemed like they would shoot it 3 or 4 times to make sure that everyone was really happy with the scene, whereas it felt like they were shooting it once and only twice if there was a fuck up.
Yeah. Gotham was still in TV style shooting, which is fast to get it episode done.
Yeah, because
Netflix
you
was
have 20 episodes a season to do, and you need to get cranking.
Yeah. And Netflix was like, oh, we're bringing cinema level production to TV shows.
Yeah.
Cinematography.
It's the exact same thing as before.
I mean,
the Daredevil production had such a different take on how this needed to be done.
Yeah.
The corridor fight scenes that became iconic.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The season 2, the episode on the rooftop where he's chained to the chimney breast and him and Frank are talking.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
I mean,
it is so beautifully shot.
All you need to say is that the choreography and everything that was done for that corridor fight scene, like that alone wins it for the Daredevil.
Yeah,
so.
it just shows the effort that was put into all of the visual aspects of Daredevil. It was mid as fuck in Gotham.
Yeah, Gotham was just.
It was a CW show that's pumping out 5 seasons, 20 episodes a season.
Plus all the other shows that they were doing at the time.
Yeah, it has flat lighting. It doesn't have as much fun with Gotham as you should.
Yeah.
Gotham as a setting should be one of the most fun places for creative people to tell a story. Everyone's like, oh, if you tell a story in New York, don't forget that New York is a character.
Yeah.
Like, that's like a thing that people will harp on about all the time. Gotham is the exact same. Gotham is a living, breathing organism. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And if you're going to make a show about Gotham without Batman,
you need to lean into it.
You've got to lean into it.
Yeah.
Because Gotham is seen as a dark place, they made everything really grey, but they wanted it light enough so that everyone could still easily see, instead of using kind of what Daredevil does, which also uses the darkness really well, and then uses lots of dark in the back and then brightness so that you focus on what needs to be focused on.
Yeah.
And again, it's just the budget and the mentality towards how the show is being made that contributes to that.
100%.
It's a 6-0 sweep. Daredevil
Wait.
absolutely wipes the floor with Gotham. But it is interesting how much that is kind of when comic book TV shows changed from villain of the week. Maybe there's a story over the course of the entire season with lots of filler episodes to the here is 10 episodes that is just a way more in-depth story.
Yeah, it's the Netflix effect. Like Netflix changed a lot about how shows are done going forward, and it's like also like the change of CW was like just for the comic book fans. Daredevil turned MCU into a cultural like phenomenon. To be honest, like they changed the direction of like who wanted to go see those. So it's not a surprise that Netflix has kind of swept the floor here.
Not even remotely. But I did think there were some interesting parts surrounding Gotham that we needed to discuss.
Yeah.
But that's it from us this week. Daredevil progresses to the second round of our content bracket.
It does.
Next week. Another easy one, if we're being honest. Okay. But it's one that's going to feel dirty, though.
Oh, no.
Like, we're not going to like it, but we both know what the right answer is. Iron Man 1, which was your pick, versus Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings.
Well, okay. Yep.
It's an easy answer, but it still feels dirty. But we'll see you next week. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. And we will catch you next time.
We will see you next week.